What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're putting the newest models from Damian Lillard and Donovan Mitchell's shoe lines with Adidas head to head to see how they compare. So really quick, if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like. We would greatly appreciate that. But starting off with the box and the price, you get a pretty cool box for these Dame 8s. You're going to have like a boxing theme that's going to also show up on the shoes as well. So just a lot more details going on than most Adidas shoes get for a box. And then looking at the D.O.N issue 3s, these are going to have a pretty nice box too with that spider logo kind of in the middle there, since Donovan's nickname is Spider Mitchell. But as for pricing, the Dame 8s are going to be retailing for $120. So that is a $10 price jump from last year, but sometimes the prices kind of fluctuate just depending on collabs or just different themes like that, you know, certain details. But for the D.O.N 3s, those are going to be retailing for only $110. So, you know, two shoes that are definitely on the cheaper side of the scale. So there's a lot to like there. So taking a quick look at the appearance for these models and starting off with the colorways, today we're checking out the Adidas Dame 8 Dame Time versus the D.O.N issue 3 Louisville Cardinals. So looking at the Dame 8s first, these are going to have like a boxing theme since he's into the boxing scene for like, you know, preparation and getting his mind right, stuff like that. But they did take the wing design off of that midsole from the Dame 7 and turned it into more of a curved look here. You're also going to get some Dame text show up on the inside of that upper, and then you're also going to get it on a patch on the back of the shoe around the heel of the ankle. So, you know, the last few models have kind of kept a similar look in general, and I think it's pretty clean. I'm kind of curious to see, you know, if they'll do that extended play series like they did for the Dame 7s. That was like kind of a cool idea to like mix his like studio presence into like an actual shoe. But for these Dame 8s, they actually kind of remind me of like the Jordan Zion 1, just as far as like this color blocking goes. So, I mean, it's going to look about the exact same where you got that like kind of Z in the middle where it changes from that purple to green from the front to back. So I did like the look for the Zion 1, and, you know, Dame is going to be nice for the appearance as well. But now switching it over to the D.O.N 3s, this is like the college edition for his shoe. You know, Donovan, of course, attended Louisville before he was drafted to the Utah Jazz, but, you know, definitely not a bad look for this year's model. And they did switch some things up. You're going to have more of like a crown design kind of running up the midsole, which is nice. And then they replaced the Adidas logo on the tongue from last year's model and went with more of a spider logo. So I do think that looks a lot better. Also, some Louisville branding is going to show up kind of on that little band over the laces. Different colorways are getting like, you know, different markings there, but they did take away the wavy heel design from the D.O.N 2s, and now they just kind of have a patch back there in that spot. But, you know, I probably did prefer last year's setup, you know, around the heel compared to the D.O.N 3s, but, you know, definitely not a bad look for either one of these shoes. So now I'll get more into how each of these shoes kind of play on the court. So starting off with the cushioning for the Dame 8s, these are going to have a dual density Bounce Pro cushioning setup, and, you know, that's designed to give you the perfect ratio of energy return, cushioning, and support. And these do feel good to play in. I think last year's Dame 7 had like a light strike cushioning setup, and, you know, that honestly felt pretty similar to these, and I do like both of those models. But, you know, I've still only played in the Dame 8s like a handful of times, but the impact protection has felt good and the cushioning was just well balanced. But switching it over to the D.O.N issue 3s, these are kind of a reverse of what like Dame's line has going on. So these had bounce cushioning in the 2s, but went with a light strike setup for this year's D.O.N 3, and, you know, I would say it is an improvement just from how last year's model felt. These do feel a little bit softer, but I gotta be honest, it's still not gonna blow you away with like any type of crazy soft feel. But similar to the Dame 8s, you know, the cushioning is gonna be well balanced within that shoe from the front to the back. You just maybe don't feel it quite as much as the Dame 8 in my opinion. So looking at the materials and the support, you know, these shoes are pretty similar in these areas. The Dame 8s have some textiles covering the upper, you know, with some TPU overlays in a few different places. You're also going to get a little Achilles pillow that I didn't even really notice while I was playing in these. It just wasn't there on the Dame 7 setup. And then the support holds up really well for any kind of like step back or just hard movement. These did play really similar to the Dame 7s, it felt like, which I was also a fan of, like I've been saying. But, you know, switching it over to the D.O.N 3s, these are going to have some textiles covering that upper design. You're also going to have some TPU overlays in certain areas, but, you know, nothing premium or anything along those lines. But neither of these shoes are really going to get those touches. The support does hold up nice for this model, though. For the D.O.N 3, you're going to get that crown design that also runs up the side there, just to kind of help keep your foot within the shoe. But, you know, some lightweight materials do keep the shoe breathable, but still plenty to reinforce your foot for the support. Some people have cited some like heel slippage and stuff like that, and I have to say I have noticed that a little bit, and I'll say the D.O.N 2 was probably better in this support category than this year's D.O.N 3 model. I still haven't struggled with it a lot, but I just haven't had really any issues at all for the Dame 8. Finishing off with traction, the Dame 8s follow like the same general design and setup from the Dame 7, only now you have some wavy lines in there to kind of make up that inside portion instead of like a jagged arrow design from last year. And you're also going to have some indentions in that middle section of the shoe. And these aren't like very sticky, but they still do have some grip. They did play well outdoors, I will say that. You know, I've only played in these a few times still, like I said, so I'm still trying to figure out how they're going to play going forward. But, you know, I still do think they're going to be nice. They're definitely going to be good. I don't know about great. And, you know, so far I've spent most of my time on like a dusty court anyways, so it's been kind of tough to get a true gauge on it. But switching it over to the D.O.N issue 3s, these had a similar design from their previous model as well. I guess Adidas like just isn't in the business to switch up the traction patterns all that much, but they still do play a little bit better than the D.O.N 2s, it feels like. Those were pretty inconsistent. I think these have a little bit better grip, but it still isn't going to be anything, you know, over the top. There aren't just like a lot of Adidas basketball shoes that I love for traction right now. The Harden and the Trae Young ones, those were pretty weak, especially the Hardens. You know, these two models, they're definitely okay. Honestly, D-Rose might have the best traction as far as like Adidas shoes right now. Those are pretty nice. But to finish off with sizing, the Dame 8s actually do run a little bit big. I do have more room than I'd like to in the toe area, just, you know, more than usual. So if you like more of a snug fit, I'd maybe consider going a half size down. But the D.O.N issue 3 is pretty much true to size all the way around.
You can't play a player, baby. That's just how the game goes. All I'm focused.
So for the final ratings, the appearance is good for both of these shoes, but I'm not really in love with either. But, you know, I also don't dislike them, so I will just keep that section as a tie. For cushioning, you know, neither one of these shoes are going to be the absolute softest, but the Dame 8 does feel a little bit better to play in. I think they just got a little more comfortable from last year's model. So did the D.O.N 3, but just not quite enough to kind of edge out the Dame 8, so I will lean that way for cushioning. As far as materials, you know, I mean, these shoes have a lot of the same stuff going on. You're going to have pretty much upper across the textiles, as that's what it's going to be made up of. You're also going to have, like, you know, pretty much the same TPU overlays and all that. So I will keep that section as a tie. But for support, you know, it's for some reason it's a little more difficult to lock your heel down within that D.O.N 3 model. I just noticed my heel wanting to slide up occasionally, and you know, the Dame 8s, they did feel a little bit more locked in just overall. So it's very slight, but I will lean that way for the Dame 8 again here. But to finish off with traction, I mean, both shoes played pretty solid. They definitely don't stand out as anything impressive, but you know, they did play well indoors and outdoors. Neither model really handles, you know, dust all that well, but you know, it's really close. So I am going to keep that section as a tie. So, you know, overall, a relatively close competition between these shoes, but I still am going to take the Dame 8 for the better shoe to hoop in. I mean, these are really similar to play-in just as far as the feel. The Dame 8 just seems to be about the same or just a little bit better in all of these categories, but it just really isn't by much. With both of these shoes being $120 or less, I mean, you can't go wrong with either design. So if you're interested in buying one or both of these shoes and you want to support our channel, we do have an affiliate link down in the description that just gives us a little commission that goes back into reviewing more shoes. So feel free to check that out. But that wraps up this performance comparison. Feel free to comment below if you like this video. Just let us know any other shoes you want to see go head to head. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoeware. Peace.
You can't play a player, baby. That's just how the game goes. All I'm focused on is